Farming in the desert isn't insane, and here is how I got to that conclusion. But first, I guess you are familiar with agrivoltaics. It's the use of farmland for the simultaneous farming of crops and energy. But that's an old concept already, and there are plenty of videos on it, so I came up with something new. Introducing agrivoltaics in a desert to use the bare and inhospitable land for something productive. Now, how would this work? You build the solar panels, plant the crops under them and water it. The crops wouldn't get burned because the solar panels can tilt and provide just the right amount of shadow. The solar panels shouldn't overheat as much because the crops emit humidity, which cools the panels down. The crops should also need about 20 to 30% less watering thanks to the shade. And if you use drip irrigation, the water requirements would be minimal. Plus, you can install these air water generators and run them off of the solar energy and won't have to worry about watering the crops. So far, it looks like a pretty self-sufficient system, wouldn't you say? But here come the problems. Let's take for example Sahara, which is the world's largest hot desert. It's also one of the scarcest populated places on the planet. So claiming the Saharan land for a farming project shouldn't do that much harm, right? If we were to cover it whole with crops and solar panels, it would provide us with loads of food and insane amounts of electricity. On the other hand, it could cause major disturbances around the world, for example in the Amazonian rainforest, because of how interconnected things are. So let's not do that. The good thing is that to satisfy the global need for electricity, we would need to put agrivoltaics or solar panels on only 1.2% of Sahara. And later in this video, I will calculate how much food would this same 1.2% produce. Because we are talking agrivoltaics here, remember? The next problem is the maintenance of the solar panels. For them to work optimally, the panels must be spotless. But that's quite hard to do in a windy, sandy, dusty desert environment. And this gets me to the desert climate overall. The temperatures are hot in the day and ice cold in the night. So the panels would be 24/7 under temperature stress. This could, for example, lead to some of the connectors unplugging themselves due to the constant expansion and contraction, and that would mean less electricity. So making the panels extra heavy duty is more than appropriate, but also expensive. Another big expense would be the panel technicians. These people go around your solar farm, check on things and repair stuff when needed. These obviously have to be skilled and certified workers, hence not very many of them would want to move to the middle of a desert. The farms would therefore have to be only around big cities, and we would still probably have to pay extra to the workers. Another major one is infrastructure. Farming all this energy and food in Africa is good, but we would somehow have to export it. That means a lot of railways, roads and underwater cables, so the costs would be exorbitant. Further costs would be caused by the material of the soil, sand. We would have to mix in tons upon tons of organic matter to even be able to think about growing something in the desert. I also saw an interesting video where the guy explains how to naturally turn sand into fertile soil. Basically, you are supposed to start planting local plant species, which are usually unprofitable though, and gradually the soil will build. But as you can imagine, that would take decades, and nobody has time for that. And now for the calculations. So 1.2% of Sahara covered with solar panels would satisfy the global electricity demand. Given that in agrivoltaics the panels are usually more spread out, it would be a bit less, and even less due to the water generators. The farming side of things would have a way smaller impact, though. Cropland spans on about 50 million square kilometers worldwide. 1.2% of Sahara is only 110,000 square kilometers, so this mega farm could produce only about 1/50 of the total crops we need. So farming in the desert in and of itself isn't insane, because the system that I proposed could theoretically work. The math around it, let alone a mega project like covering the 1.2% of Sahara, might be insane though. You decide. Would you be for a grand project like this, or is it just too out there? Or should we try making such farms anyway, but on a smaller scale? Let me know, and thanks for watching.